Hi guys, this is Dr.A.Sadasivam once again with you, and today we are going to talk about Mr. R.C. Bhargava, Chairman of Maruti Udyog. Some excerpts from his interview in India Today TV, and I also started my career from Maruti Udyog in the regional office as a territory sales manager, and we used to look at Bhargava Saab like we used to look at the sun, because he was the managing director of the company, and I still remember he used to come to the plant in a yellow color M800 car, and it was only Mr. Bhargava who had this car. That was the only car of its kind in the whole country. As the car used to come into the factory, people used to say that MD Saab has come, something like Elizabeth Rani has come, and people used to stand around the vehicle and people used to watch that vehicle, right? Those were the old reminiscences. And in India Today TV, he had shared a lot of Maruti's plans, strategies. He talked a lot of topics, right, from delicensing and competition, how competition came into this industry, a lot of factors. He talked about SUV regulations, state taxes, and how the SUV market has been eating into the small car segment, and the focus of Maruti on hybrid cars. Talked a lot about Grand Vitara, it sales through Maruti channels, sale through Toyota channels, its impact, and he was talking a lot about hybrid cars, diesel cars. He talked about Europe, alternative fuels, he talked about ethanol. Very knowledgeable person. He was a topper of IAS yesteryears, 1955 or something like that, and he touched every single topic in the world, including your Ukraine, your input prices, rhodium, palladium, steel, aluminum. He's an encyclopedia of his own. My dear friends, journalists का भी कोई काम नहीं है. They started asking about competition. Those days competition was not there. कुछ भी पूछ लेते हैं. This India Today वाले वैसे भी कुछ भी पूछ लेते हैं. He had a beautiful answer. He was mentioning that competition is nothing new to Maruti. In fact, if you see, after the automotive industry was delicensed, a lot of global players came into this country, and especially from 1997, if you talk about every top class manufacturer in the world, right from General Motors, Ford, Nissan, Renault, Volkswagen, every single company set up their shops here, and competition has been in existence right from the beginning, and Maruti has given tough competition to this competition, and in spite of that, Maruti had maintained 50% competition is what he's saying. He used this specific word. He said the nature of competition is changing from time to time, and he talked a lot about challenges, right? The first challenge he talked about was on price advantage, especially with respect to your petrol and diesel cars. Initially, it started like that. Like Mahabharata, you have a lot of phases in which the war takes place. So initially, it was between petrol and diesel because cost factor was extremely important. But over a period of time, the same factor doesn't remain for a long time. Today, the technology is changing very fast, and as the technology changes, new elements are coming into the competition. For example, you have that SUV factor. So things are becoming very difficult, right? Where to fight, how much to fight. Everything, the whole landscape is changing, is what Bhargava Saab is saying. And this particular industry is very, very dynamic, and as far as competition is concerned, competition is nothing new to Maruti. Maruti has always faced competition from the best of the best companies in the world, and Maruti has always maintained 50% market share. Typically, that means you put all the world manufacturers in India on one side, take Volkswagen, Toyota, Ford, you put all of them on one side, and Maruti, one single company, sells more vehicles than all the other companies put together. That is how it is able to maintain its 50% market share, guys. Maruti has been maintaining maintaining this market share, and Maruti is giving a very tough competition to all these competitors. Now the journalist was also saying, no, it is now 40%, 42%, and you know, frankly, this is my own thing. Maruti shares used to touch 10,000. It had come down to, you know, 9, 8 and 7, but now of late it has started improving. But journalists are playing spoil sport all the time. This is not Bhargava Saab's comment. This is my own comment looking at the situation, guys. You know, he's a man. Let me also tell you, that was a long interview, so I'm trying to encapsulate the whole interview in a very short time, right? Maybe 10-15 minutes. I'm encapsulating a 1.5 hour interview into just 15 minutes, just for people to know what this company is and how successful it has been. Now coming back to this competition, Bhargava Saab is saying yes, at one point of time, yes, in 2011 it had 40-42%, but Maruti has the ability to spring back. Due to certain factors, Maruti's shares might dip at one point of time, but it quickly springs back. Now it's slightly down, not slightly down than 50, but that's because of the small cars. The SUV is eating into the small car segment, is what he was saying, and Maruti has not much of cars as far as SUV segment is concerned. Now as far as the small cars are concerned, the sales are coming down because of certain specific reasons. That is because of lots and lots of government regulations. New regulations are being put up, and with every new regulation the input price of the car is increasing. Obviously that will have an effect on its sales. You have state regulations, over and above that you have government taxes. So whatever dip in the share, it's all because of these. The income of people, it is down, the per capita is down. All that needs to be increased, and companies have to make cars which can suit their pockets, right? Therefore I think he meant that government should keep these things in mind. So indirectly I think what he was wanting to say was that government should give some tax concession, especially for small cars. Of course, in economics you have some fundas. Of course, Bhargava Saab was not saying, but I am saying you have demand elasticity, income elasticity, price elasticity. These are some economic concepts which we teach students and IAS aspirants, right, in classrooms. How by reducing the price by say X percentage, you will be able to increase the sales by 5x percentage, which will lead to accelerator multiplier effects in the economy, right? He wasn't saying that, but I have all these points. Probably if I have an opportunity to interview him, I will ask these questions to him. Of course, if I get a chance, I will ask all these questions to him. So what he broadly means is the government should start, you know, taking actions, especially as far as the small car is concerned, because that's one car which suits the mass population, right? So indirectly it is Modi Saab, Amit Shah Saab, whoever is listening to this, please bring in these. Another issue is somewhere some instance happens, people get into this knee-jerk reactions, right? I am slightly aggressive, but I am just reflecting some of his views, not exactly what he was saying. In fact, even regulators, right, knee-jerk reactions. For example, he was quoting the Cyrus Mistry Sahab's accident. He took this example, and that is why I am quoting this example. People who were sitting in the front seat, they all escaped, but people sitting in the rear, they lost their lives. Such things happen in the safest of the safest cars, and those cars have 6 airbags. You put 16 airbags, but the guy can only escape if he wears the seat belt. So regulators should first focus their attention on ensuring that people wear. People are trying to touch the sky. There's nothing wrong in touching the sky. People should have high aspirations, but before we venture out into the sky, we first have to see our 10-foot ceiling. We have a fan and there is total dust. First, let's clean that dust first. People are talking about safety. Some people died somewhere. Immediately new regulations, put economics, put the seat belts and all that. Greatest good for the greatest number is what macroeconomists are talking, right? Your John Ravel, your Jeremy Bentham, your Arrow's impossibility theorem. In fact, I teach all these concepts to IAS aspirants and MBA students, right? If I have an opportunity to interview Bhargava, I will ask all these questions using these concepts. I'm sure he would explain these and he will give very good points. So government also should not take any knee-jerk reactions. Something happens immediate. My friends, 3 million cars, 30 lakh cars. Look at the per capita income of Indian people, it's still low. So Maruti have taken a lot of efforts. Scooter to car exchange, 1499 scheme, very great difficulty. They used this demand elasticity concepts and they increased the sale of cars. Great difficulty. They generated demand in the automotive industry. I know all that because I worked in sales in Maruti Udyog based on the directions, right? Government should be little more responsible. I still remember in 2017 an irresponsible statement was made with respect to electric vehicles and some insurance, and immediately automotive companies, they went into big problems. We see that happening now also. Jerome Powell, he talked in this Jackson Hole's symposium. They just talked about interest rates and the stock markets fell like anything. Whoever had sold put options in option market, they had to run for cover, right? A statement from them, it's putting the whole world into jeopardy, guys. Whole share market, right? So I think people at responsible levels, they have to be very, very judicious in the use of statements. So government needs to be little more responsible and in their statements, and also in terms of actions, they have to focus more on how to increase the sale of cars. Guys, I am a trainer by profession, so little bit of exaggeration I will do and I will bring some humor element into it, right? Bhargava Sahab was quoting this. He was saying only 5% people are wearing seat belts. First, government should focus their attention on ensuring that 100% of the people wear safety belts before they start new regulations, because every new regulation is going to increase the cost of the vehicle, and when the cost goes up, demand elasticity, price elasticity, income elasticity, all those factors come into picture, right? So I think all these factors need to be kept in mind, because automobile sector is one of the backbones of the country, and it's virtuous cycle. 4 pillars of macroeconomics. You talk about savings, you talk about consumption, investment, employment, closely connected with all this. Bhargava Sahab was also talking about hybrid, and he was talking about how much Maruti is focusing on hybrid vehicles, and he was taking this example of Grand Vitara, how successful it has been, and they're being sold through 2 channels, Toyota channel, Suzuki channel. You have hard hybrid models and soft hybrid models, something like that. And he was also saying, he was taking the name of MD Saab, that some SUVs are in the pipeline, they will all start coming, and he touched upon that. He didn't elaborate much on that, whereas we were more interested in hearing that. He was also making a statement. Sometimes it's advantageous to come into the market a little late also. This was in response to specific questions on electric vehicles, right? First mover advantage is right. It is right. But at times, not at all times, first mover advantage is a advantage, right? Especially if you talk in terms of Tata, you talk of Mahindra, they have been in the forefront, especially as far as electric cars are concerned. Hyundai has come out with their own versions of electrical cars, Volvo, etc. They are all doing very well in this. But yes, there are some issues. He talked about some issues which I will try to explain later. But somewhere I felt he was saying that yes, Maruti is slightly behind, but they don't want to do anything in a high knee-jerk reaction. And he was also comparing hybrid and diesel, and he was giving a lot of comparisons about the European countries, and talked a lot about cost consideration, charging infrastructure, range is another issue, electrical grid he talked about, my dear friends. So when more and more vehicles come into the market, these will start throwing problems, teething problems. Therefore, Maruti, even before getting fully into it, Maruti would like to see all these factors and then enter aggressively into this segment. He was also talking about other fuels like biogas. He was talking about carbon negativity, guys, and he also talked about how semiconductor problem is already over, the supply constraints are all behind us, and we are almost out of the woods. And he was touching upon Ukraine crisis, because all these things are expected to affect the supply ecosystem. And broadly he was saying that Maruti is taking all efforts to ensure that it continues to be a market leader in the country, and Maruti will take all efforts to ensure that the customers get the best. Okay guys, I hope you like this video. I really enjoyed doing this video because Maruti is very close to my heart. I worked for that company, that too in the sales department. Very close to me, and I really enjoyed making this video. Thank you guys. This is Dr. Sadasivam signing off till we meet again. Bye bye. Jai Hind.